Well, hello again, everybody. A few people have been asking about the Equinox, about whether the fix that I did on it really worked or not. So, let's go over whether it did. Okay, if you remember, I did basically just a Seafoam treatment on this, as well as, let me pop the hood and show you here. A Seafoam treatment as far as putting Seafoam in the crankcase and also running it through the brake booster line or vacuum line. You can use any vacuum line. I did drill out the hole, cleaned out the hole. I made a little incision in here, if you remember. You can't see it, but I made a little incision in there, moved that out of the way, drilled a hole, and I cleaned out the PCV hole behind here, and that should allow that to work properly. But the problem comes where this engine does not have, you just have to be in all my videos, don't you? Okay then, not even going to fight it anymore. All right, this is put in because of the design flaw of these engines, and the major problem that they have is the fact that the PCV hole gets clogged up inside of the manifold there, and what that does, it causes the crankcase pressure to build up until there is a rear main seal down in there between the engine and transmission. The pressure will blow that rear main seal out and will start pouring the oil, not just a little drip, but pouring the oil. It'll empty the crankcase and you will lock your engine up. So to remedy that, I drilled a hole. I got a generic PCV valve. I drilled a hole in the oil cap, and I basically used silicone to seal the hole back up around where I put the hole for the PCV valve. So this is sealed, but this is hooked into it's teed in to the intake vacuum for the brake booster. Anyway, okay, I did that in a separate video. I can link that up in the top. Now this has helped with the oil consumption, as well as knowing that my engine is not going to explode from lack of oil because of being blown out. Now, has the process of running the Seafoam to loosen up the rings worked? Now, here's the oil dipstick, and it has oil on it. Hold on, let me wipe the dipstick off. Okay, the dipstick is clean, and I would like to say that I do not like the design of this dipstick. I would rather the traditional, like it's like one piece of metal that you put down. This has like a cable attached to it, and just the end of it is all you read. And I mean, I know the end of it is all you read on a regular one, but let me show you. It's kind of hard really to see. I went 3,000 miles, and I know you're supposed to go farther than that before you change your oil, but that's what I'm doing right now, is changing it every 3,000. And to tell how much oil is in it, okay, that's the only way I can really tell, because it's hard to tell on the dipstick, just the way it's made. But if you stick it down on the piece of plastic, well, I got all the oil off of it already. Yeah, there you go. Stick it down on a piece of plastic and lay it across. However much is on there will show up. So you can see it's still full. And on this oil change, I have 500 miles on this last oil change. So it's went 500 miles, and it has not moved any. It has not used any oil. Now, okay, let me tell you the update on how it has been working. starting to sprinkle, so I may step into the car to do this. Alright, so now we're inside the car. Started raining, so gotta stay dry. Been at doctor's appointments all day, so it's actually starting to get a little darker right now. But this is when I get my chance to do the video. You know, you gotta take the opportunity when it comes. Anyway, did my treatments that I have done on this car fix this car? I think it did. For my style of driving, this car is fixed. It needs nothing else. I'm done changing things on this car. Now, one thing I am going to do, I'm going to continue to do 3,000 mile oil changes. Now, I only drove this car for 3,000 miles. We didn't drive anything else, just this one. Use this for everything. I drove it to work and everything. And I'll tell you, the first 500 miles, I used a half quart. I thought, well, here we go. It's still going to be using, it's an improvement, but it's going to be using oil. You know, I thought, well, you know, I guess that treatment didn't work. I was trying to think of another one to use. Okay, I checked it at 750 miles. I didn't add any at that time. I checked it at 750 miles. It had used another quarter of a quart. It had used another fourth of a quart. So it's still, and at under 250 miles, the oil usage had halved again. It was half of what it was before. I topped it off, drove it another 1,000 miles that didn't use any oil. No discernible oil usage. It probably had used some, but I couldn't tell it on the dipstick. I couldn't see a difference. In 1,000 miles, I couldn't see a difference. It didn't use any. Okay, that's after another 1,000. We took it to Cincinnati, running 80 miles an hour, 75, 80. In 200 miles, this car used almost a quart of oil. Probably 3/4 of a quart. On the way up to Cincinnati, because I was doing that fast. On the way back, we took back roads. 2-lane roads all the way. It was a longer trip. I topped off before we left Cincinnati, come back. Did about 230, 240 miles. Longer route. Didn't use any oil. So, the way I think, if you run it hard, which it's easy to run this engine hard because it's a heavier vehicle with a 4-cylinder engine. It doesn't really have enough power. So it doesn't like hills. You go up a hill and you're running cruise on this thing, it will just about redline that tack to keep up with your speed, to keep your whatever you got your cruise set at, which I think is ridiculous. It shouldn't do that. But on the way back from Cincinnati, if I was going up a hill and it started losing speed, I just let it lose speed. I would hold the throttle at a position where the max I would let it rev is up to 3,000. I would try to keep it about 2,500. When I did that, it didn't use any oil whatsoever. So, in my mind and the way that I drive, this car is fixed. It has no more issues that I need to address. I just need to keep changing the oil. So yeah, did my treatment work that I did? Yes, it did. I'll put a link to the video where I did the treatment. It's a Seafoam treatment. Put it in the oil, put it in the intake, and change the oil. That's it. It works. It does work. There may be other things, and if you have any suggestions for any other treatments I could do that might work, put them in the comments. We might go through at some point if it starts using oil again, and we'll try some of these other suggestions and see how they work. Now, for right now though, I think it's fixed. I'm highly satisfied that this car basically doesn't use oil anymore, or very little. If it uses a quart between 3,000 mile oil changes, I'm fine with that. I don't go 3,000 miles without checking my oil anyway. I check it every other day in anything I drive. I always check my oil. And that's advice to anybody watching this. Continually check your oil before you start your engine in the morning. Just make it a habit to, maybe not every day, but at least once a week, or in something like this, every couple of days. Pop the hood, check the oil. It takes, what, 3 minutes? You don't even have to wipe it off. If you haven't started the engine that day, pull the dipstick out. Where it's at, that's where it's at. Just pull it out and look at it. Yep, good. Shut the hood and go. It takes just a minute of your time. That's it. It's nothing. And it may save you an engine. You never know when an engine is going to develop a leak or something. You know, anything could happen. You could have ran over something on the highway and didn't know that you knocked a hole in your oil pan, and it's sitting there bleeding out and you don't even know it. So my advice is just check your oil every, just set every 2 days, every 100 miles, whatever. Every day would be great, but you're probably not going to do that. Anyway, I guess that's it for the update. It worked. That's the update. Anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and I'll see y'all on the next one.